Hi, this is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Ziegler Zone. And today we have a real special discussion. Amazon selling Hyundais. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Now, I've got two of my old friends and industry experts on with me today. Bill Hall is going to be on the broadcast. I hope he makes it. But from Horn Automotive Group, Phoenix, Arizona, one of my best friends, one of the most brilliant women in the car business, most brilliant persons in the car business, Miss April Simmons. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim. I am super excited to spend some time with two of my favorite people. And fair warning, this may be the first time I have this gut feeling we might actually disagree on a few things. So normally Max and I agree like 99.9% of the time. And Jim, you and I have a tendency to usually agree on most things. I have a feeling on this specific topic, we might have some disagreeing today. We'll see. Stay tuned.
You know, on past broadcasts, you've always sucked up to him, so
hey, someone's got to be there to talk the truth. It's not fucking up if it's facts.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering where this is going to lead. And the curmudgeon himself, the contrarian, my good friend Max Zanan.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Wonderful. Hey, did you hear? I don't want to blatantly promote it. I have a book out.
Is it behind you?
Damn, I didn't know that was there. Yes, the Sales Manager's Forum. You can actually order this book on Amazon. I got that from you.
Right.
I got that from you because you're a published author. You've got a lot of books out.
That's right. Amazon is the way to go.
Well, tell me about the dental business before we get into Amazon.
I mean, Jim, and listen, I spoke to April about it also several times. It is the best thing I have ever done. I am getting incoming leads that I could never get in automotive. It's absolutely incredible. I spend 6-8 hours on the phone with dentists, and we're signing up dental practices left and right. It is what a trip, And I'm exhibiting at Greater New York Dental meeting right after Thanksgiving, so I'm flying to New York tomorrow, and there will be 12,000 dentists. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But for the first time, I have to say, I might not be able to do it as a one-man show.
That is amazing. You're gonna actually hire agents?
Yes, hire agents, maybe even hire a BDC department to make outgoing sales calls.
Fantastic. One of our
so if anybody can recommend a good BDC department, I'd love to speak to them.
Fantastic.
We'll have a conversation, my friend.
Okay, get this. Now, one of the Facebook users on the sidebar just made a real great comment. You can order the book, my book, and a Hyundai at the same time.
Right, as long as it gets delivered to the right address.
I wonder how you're going to put a Sonata in the cart. Yeah. Can you take it back to Kohl's or UPS and ship it back like you do with any other Prime thing?
Right.
No,
let's
obviously, absolutely not. I mean, that's obviously not going to be, and I think that's jumping right into it, Jim, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what this program is going to be or what it's not going to be. And then obviously we're all going to have our opinions about it. And that's the fun part of this show, is getting to express those differences of opinions on how this is actually going to roll out. But I'll start by saying I don't think there's anything different than what's going on with Amazon than any of the other third parties and what's been going on for the last 15 years. They've all been doing the same thing as what this pretty much for the most part is. I think there's more positive about this program than there is negative, because
Okay, so
just
you're on that side of the spectrum. It's a good thing.
yeah. And here's why. I'm going to tell
Okay.
you the number one reason.
Okay, now you are a brilliant woman. I've always said that, so I want to hear what you've got to say.
Amazon is not going to sell cars A to Z, put it in your cart like you buy other products on Amazon. It is an amazing shopping platform. I think it kills the snot out of every other shopping platform out there. And if you haven't realized it lately, anytime you Google search any product, I don't care what the product is, what's the first link that comes up?
Amazon.
Right?
Buy my book. Yeah.
From an SEO standpoint, there's nothing greater than having your product, especially if you're trying to be in the consideration phase. You're trying to actually be a manufacturer who's trying to get people to consider your product. What better way than to show up first from that standpoint? From an SEO standpoint, I think it's a genius move. I think that it's going to provide opportunities in advertising and marketing in other ways that we haven't really looked at in the past in automotive. But I do not think that it's going to be the one where we sell cars A to Z either, like at all, not even a little bit. Maybe, I shouldn't say not a little bit. I would say maybe 2%, 2 to 5%, depending on market.
Yeah, Max, jump in there. Why is she full of it?
Well, listen, I think, I made a bunch of videos prior to COVID, right? And I was saying that, guys, you can't ignore Carvana. You cannot ignore Amazon, because that's how people want to buy stuff, right? But of course, dealers ignored everything I've said, and I think everything many people have said, right? And then COVID happened, right? And then, everybody was a God's gift to sales. So there was no need.
It was automatic. Anybody can sell a car.
Right. So there was no need for any third-party platform whatsoever. I think the cancellations for all these third-party platforms went through the roof in 2020, right? And similar to car dealers giving up the market share to Jiffy Lube, to Valvoline, to Firestone, you're seeing it again. They're just giving up market share to Amazon, right? Something that basically what's happening is that there's a third-party aggregator inserting themselves between the customer and the dealer, because the dealers are too short-sighted to do this themselves on their website. Because when you say full transparency, online retail sales, right, they're going to have a heart attack. Oh my God, they're going to find out that I'm going to make some money on them in F&I. I can't do that. I can't do that. So now chickens are coming home to roost. You got yourself a competitor in the eyes of Amazon. I understand it's not a violation of franchise laws, because dealers are going to be involved. But let's wait and see.
Wait a minute now, Max. My friend Lenny Belavia, one of the foremost attorneys in automotive, sort of thinks it's a violation of the dealer franchise.
But I'm saying, Jim, let's assume it's not. But it's not today, but it will be in 5 years or in 3 years.
Possibly, but here's where I'm going to disagree. This stuff has been out there, Max, forever, right? Like look at the online. We tried to do it with AutoTrader. We've tried to do it with all these other products for years and years and years. The reason they never hit the finish line is because there's still a need for a salesperson. At the end of the day, salespeople are so needed. And I'm going to tell you, you want the proof? How many EVs are sitting on people's lots right now?
April, there's no argument here. Salespeople are needed, but I think this will really be a demise of other third-party aggregators. Because if
wait, before we continue a second, Bill Hall has joined us. Hello, Bill.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good, good.
The number one GM dealer in the entire state of Georgia, probably 3 states surrounding. How you doing, big guy?
I'm doing well. How are you? Sorry, I had to get some customers out of here, but I got.
Well, you know, those customers get in the way of everything, don't they? Well,
They actually can come deal with somebody, unlike just having online where you can't talk to anybody. They actually have somebody to come talk to.
Southtown GM. What city are you? Noonan, Georgia. I mean, just outskirts of Atlanta, selling more GM products than any dealer in the state. Weigh in. What is your opinion of this thing before I turn it back over to the Max April argument?
So I have a different opinion. I think you probably read it. I've been online all over it, but I don't think this is a big deal at all, personally. I think it's another online platform, although a big one. No, don't get me wrong. It is a huge one, but from my dealers, Hyundai, and so we have 2. I'm not involved in the Hyundai side, but talk to them frequently. The communications they're getting it's not any. Is that me going on?
Yeah, that's you. Whatever's going on there.
Yeah, I don't. That it's not any different. The deal is still facilitated through the dealership. The pricing is online, but similar to other things that the manufacturer has, the preliminary feedback is that the dealer is going to have an option even to be in it or be not. So the pricing will be set at such and whatever the pricing is set at. The dealer can be involved. They can not be involved. If they're not, that lead would go to the next zip or closest dealer. If they are, it would go to them. The sale, not the lead, because it is a little more advanced than a lead generating system. But from that point on, the dealer still gets a shot at F&I. The dealer still delivers the vehicle, whether it's to them or they schedule the customer to come pick up. They still have an opportunity aftermarket, and it's still a service customer that they have at the dealership. So I don't really see a huge downside here, or that anybody's trying to circumvent dealer franchise laws or anything like that. Like that, this doesn't hit me like that. I could just be, taking the course that is not.
Yeah, you might be gurgling the Kool-Aid here, son.
But no, I mean, it's not even GM. So I don't see it any different than the shop, click, and drive.
Yeah, it's click, shop, click, and drive. One more time. Let me check in for a second. I haven't expressed my opinion as of yet. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because I think it'll wipe out AutoTrader. It'll wipe out Cargurus. It'll certainly wipe dealer.com. Goodbye. Well,
yeah, Jim, I agree.
You guys are sinking down in the tar pits, eating the last brown shriveled leaves off the trees. The lead providers, the aggregators, that model's been dead for a long time. But this will put that nail in that coffin. I noticed dealer.com is trying to find new avenues, reinventing themselves, different directions, getting in other businesses. Lead providers know that model's dead, I believe, my opinion, based on I was raised in a Christian household. Anyway, we're getting a lot of comments on the sidebars. Jen Alio says, well, why do we need those big lots? Now, Jen, I don't know what you do. I think you are a business development manager at a Honda store. I think I found you. But anyway, Jen, we do need the big lots because customers do need the opportunity to make decisions, and they can't do that with pictures and things online. Do we agree with that, guys?
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
100%.
I don't know if she's an experienced manager, she knows what she's talking about, but no, excuse me. I got James Klaus on the sidebar, Peter Smith. April, tell me more about why it's a good thing.
Well, Bill and I are completely, I think, in agreement on this particular topic, which is that it's going to, yes, help streamline, and think about this. If customers go to Amazon, they trust Amazon as a source. They dominate in an SEO fashion. There's a capability for customers to shop in one place for potentially all OEMs, which could end up being a really cool, convenient factor for customers. And then at the end of the day, they're still going to baton toss to the dealership to handle all the things that let's face it, there's reasons why Carvana did fail. There's some cool things they did, but there's a lot of things that they did really, really poorly. They couldn't handle title work. They couldn't handle customer experience. They couldn't handle people coming back with issues. So allowing the dealership to do what the dealership does best, but at the same time understanding that customers really just start their process online. Very few have the capability to finish it online. And no matter what happens, no matter what the future holds, I still believe that at least in the next 20 years, that's going to be the case. We still
No. Oh, excuse me, Miss April. You just stepped on me. Hang on one second here. Yeah. Okay, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. And the reason the Amazon is a bad thing is because it's not only the first step. It's only the first step. I don't trust any of the manufacturers. I trust Hyundai more than I would trust Ford or General Motors. But I don't trust any of the manufacturers to stop.
But this isn't a trust thing.
Wait a minute, I'm talking. Hey,
You finish.
Okay. Yeah. Say here for a minute that the manufacturers say, hey, this works. And all of a sudden the dealers aren't involved anymore. Because, my good friend Jim Farley said recently, I'm being facetious, my good friend Jim Farley recently said that Ford, in the Illinois decision, that Ford would rather, or he would rather, as the CEO of Ford, he would much rather use the dealers as a delivery thing and use distribution centers. They want to sell directly online. That's what exactly Farley was aimed at. And I believe the manufacturers would love to do direct sales to the consumers. And they would love to have their own repair centers under the Right to Repair Act that is going national. So under the Right to Repair Act, they can have their own repair. They could let Walmart do warranty work and be paid by the manufacturers. That's where the Right to Repair. Jiffy Lube could do repairs and be paid under the factory warranties, under the Right to Repair Act. That's where this thing's headed. So let's say we have off-site repair facilities. Amazon with this huge database, all of a sudden they start selling cars, and all of a sudden a manufacturer, not necessarily Hyundai, says, hey, we're going to cut the dealers out completely. We now have the repair facilities. We now have the ability to deliver directly to their homes. We got plenty of Amazon drivers. They're just going to be driving bigger ass trucks, All of a sudden, what happens there? Jump in, Max, and April.
So
Okay.
Listen, I think you're right.
Yeah,
and in the short term, I hope Hyundai dealers will save a lot of money by canceling, all the useless AutoTraders and Cars.com of the world. But in the long term, I have to agree that this is the Trojan horse. And for now, there are only 18 Hyundai dealers that are participating in this pilot. And I'm sure that number will expand. And then, it'll move to Kia and Genesis because it's the same corporate parent. And then fear of missing out is going to kick in with other manufacturers, and they will all be begging Amazon to take them on that platform. And like you said, down the road, they will find a way to circumvent franchise laws, and dealers will pay.
Tesla did.
Of course. So the precedent is there, the desire is there, as it has been, said by Jim Farley and the GM, senior management. So at the end of the day, this is a Trojan horse. Another thing that April said, that Carvana failed, and listen, if you think that selling 81,000 retail units in third quarter of 2023 at $5,952 is a failure, I want to fail like that. I want to consistently fail with these numbers. These guys are gonna sell 250,000 cars, and what stops, and I've always said that, what stops Amazon from buying Carvana? Carvana powered by Amazon, right? And you got your used car operation, you got your prep centers across the country because Carvana is national, right? And then you just need a small piece.
I think we're ganging up on April here.
Where
I
Carvana
told you it might happen today. I fair warned y'all I might disagree with y'all today, which is a rarity. It's a rarity.
Right, but guys, you have to understand that if that happens, all Carvana has to do is buy a new car franchise on paper, right? And sell these cars through Amazon.
So I'm going to agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, because I do. I think that we have to keep pulse on what the intent is, and I'm not disagreeing with the intent. I'm not saying that either one of you are wrong in what that intent is. But what I've learned over the last, 26 years in this business is there's intent and then there's reality. And this is another one of those examples where I think that those two things are not going to come together. And the reason I don't believe those two things will come together is some of the comments that are popping up. Customers still need a salesperson. They need to feel the wheel. They want to come in and figure out if, their baby seat fits in the back seat, right? Or their golf clubs actually will fit based on, not just a measurement, but actually putting them in. There's so many variables where the dealership is needed to help facilitate financing, to help figure out how to make a deal even work for them in a financial way. There's just the majority, again, there may be some that funnel into this space, but the majority of consumers still want and need dealership involvement to some degree. I don't disagree with the intent, perhaps, of the OEMs that that's where they're headed. I totally don't disagree with that, but I don't think they'll ever hit the finish line. And to me, the proof in the pudding is where we're sitting here today already with EVs. All three of us predicted exactly what's happening right now on the show over the past year and a half. And it's exactly coming to fruition right now. There's these cars are on the lot.
Oh, we called it. I mean, we called EVs right 2 years ago.
Right. So who's responsible now to get people driving EVs? Who? The OEM that built them all and put them on dealership slots, who is continuing to building them and sending them to the dealership slots? Amazon? Cars.com? AutoTrader? Are they going to be the ones selling the EVs? No. It's going to be them sitting on the lot, the customer coming in, the dealership educating them, and finding a way to get those cars down the road. So there's always going to be that love-hate relationship between us, that they are always going to try to get us out. But at the end of the day, reality sets in, and there's always going to be the need for the dealership. That's what I think.
I mean, I love the optimism. I love the optimism.
Brett Sutherland, mega dealers on the sidebar here. What is to stop Amazon from getting into the finance business?
Of course. Nothing. And Amazon is already in finance business, because if you ever bought a TV on Amazon or any other electronics, right? Do they pitch you an extended warranty? Of course they do. And do they have a good penetration? I'm sure they do. So the F&I providers, the JM&As and Zurichs of the world should be panicking because it's coming. And again, it comes down to the trust in the consumer's eyes. None of the F&I providers in America were able to build a name recognition on the consumer side, right? The consumers don't differentiate between a tire and wheel from Zurich or a VSC from JM&A, right? It's just a product with no name. But when it comes to Amazon, the trust is there. And I have a feeling that the penetration rate will be there.
They've got the data. They've what kind of a customer base does Amazon have? Not worldwide, global, big ass database, right? So they've got the data. And they're getting more data now with the Hyundai program, and all of a sudden they're sucking the dealers' data already. So.
And I'll tell you more, guys. Don't be so optimistic about needing a human touch. No human touch will sell these EVs on your lot until there's a heavy duty rebate. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. You can be a salesperson from God, you can be whoever, but unless you put a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 rebate, that EV sled is going to be sitting there having a birthday and having a second birthday. So also, don't be so optimistic, because who would have thought, right, that you can sell shoes online without trying them? And what did Amazon do? They bought Zappos, right? And now who's the biggest shoe retailer in America? Amazon. So if you think...
But let's talk about how and why, Max. How and why are they the biggest? Because I will tell you, I buy a lot of shoes on Amazon. And you know why? Because I can buy 10 pairs, have them all come to my house, try them all on, decide which ones I like, and easily drop off the ones
Yep. Girls buy shoes.
Right? So at the end of the, right. But this is the point. So the point being is that there's an easy process, because it's a consumable throwaway type product, for me to return those items. I can't order 10 cars online, have them all show up at my driveway.
Just wait for the 7-day return policy. Wait for the 7-day, no questions asked return and exchange policy from Amazon. Just wait for it.
Jump in anytime, Bill. Jump in
my
anytime.
camera's fixed and you can hear me. I swapped it out. But listen, I'm going to agree with April again, and that's what I was going to say as I was
sucking up to April. Okay.
Fixing the camera. It's easy to click buy on a TV, on a pair of shoes, on some other item that's $100 or a couple $100 or whatever. It's a totally different ball game to click buy. You're an owner on a $80,000 vehicle, $100,000 vehicle. It's the reason houses won't be sold online. I mean,
they're not doing it on the manufacturers' websites.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're not going to do it. Period. Is my.
They're not doing it on the dealerships' websites. Dealerships have total transaction.
And have for years, years and years. Yeah.
Digital retail's a myth.
Correct.
Guys, I'm gonna strongly disagree here, and I'll tell you why. Over 1.2 million people bought a Tesla in 2022, and over 1 million of them bought that Tesla online.
And you know what Tesla's doing? Look on LinkedIn and see how many ads for general managers and store managers and sales people.
That's not the point. I'm just saying that Tesla, the same way as Amazon, they're both training people to buy things online. And people love it. I personally know people that bought Teslas online, and they might not be happy, with the car, but they absolutely love the process, right? And now, if you say, okay, now something similar could be available through Amazon for Hyundai, Munoz is on the right track. If I'm not mistaken, he came.
I've invited Mr. Munoz to be on a broadcast with me.
But Jim, if I'm not mistaken,
I'd very respectfully like to have him.
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he came from Nissan, and he was in Nissan under Carlos Goshen, and that means sell, sell, sell at any cost, and grab market share. And I think this is exactly what he's doing. So kudos to him, because you will definitely get more sales of Hyundai only because of the Amazon partnership.
Okay, jump in there, April.
No, I agree with Max on the fact that, Hyundai being the first one out there making this partnership, it's great from a marketing standpoint. It's great from an advertising standpoint. It's great from a consideration standpoint, of especially at the tier 1 level. I think it's a brilliant move. But I'm also going to agree with what you just said, Jim. The reality of it is digital retailing as it sits is a myth. Consumers need more. There's too many moving parts with buying a car. It's not one transaction. In most cases, it's 3 to 4 different types of transactions all rolled into one. That's why human involvement is still needed. For the majority, yes, Max, a lot of Teslas were sold online. A lot of people bought from Carvana when they had no other choice. But there's also a lot of people who a year later or 6 months later say, hey, it was great hitting the click and getting the car because I only had one transaction to deal with. Those are your typical Tesla buyers. They're a one transactional consumer, right? They don't have necessarily a trade to deal with, or negative equity, or problems with their credit, or any of these kind of things, or a way to facilitate putting a deal together. But every single one of those, to Bill's point, now wants somebody to talk to, because if they have an issue, they have a question, they need to deal with something, they have nobody to help them out. So that's why I strongly believe that while this is has a lot of sprinkles around it that says warning, warning, watch out, be careful, cautionary stuff, I don't think that it would ever go the direction that we're being fearful of, because I still believe genuinely that we will always need the dealership's involvement from a titling standpoint, from a help to put a car deal together standpoint, from option standpoint, all of those different realizations that they're going to have to try to deal with from a buy a car online situation. It hasn't worked. Consumers say they want it, but the math doesn't back that up. The math does not back it up. As a person who was with Scion when they tried to force the narrative, Ford, all the OEMs over COVID have tried to push this narrative. I have not seen an uptick in consumers who say on a survey, I want to buy a car online, but what they actually do is not that. It's not.
And here's where I can see, as someone who looks at these things and says, okay, they're getting all the press right now, but how is I, as a dealer, same again with Shop Click Drive and some of these other things, how have I as a dealer, how can I take advantage of this? And if I'm a big enough group, or if I'm a big enough dealer, I can spend most of my SEM money and on keywords, and I can be the dealer who beats Amazon by $500 on every deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm the dealer who you can go to for any Amazon deal. Bring me in your Amazon deal sheet, and it's already $500 cheaper. So if I can get that message out to enough people, now again, Amazon's a huge platform. I'm not discounting that, but if I, maybe not as an individual dealer, but if I, as a group who has many Hyundai operations, or if this moves into GM, or can get that message out that, hey, I'm not on the Hyundai program. However, find your price on Amazon, and it can be 500, 1,000, whatever you want to come up with that number. If I can be that dealer, then I'm getting those deals, not the.
Yeah. But Bill, if you look at the stock price of AutoNation and Lithia, it's already down, because everybody can see the writing, on the wall.
I think because people who don't understand the car business can look at it and say, oh, this is going to have a much bigger impact than I think some of us really believe it will.
So you see, in my paranoid KGB mind, right, I know that, like Jim said, this is just step one. Right? Step 2 will be to get into F&I. Step 3 will be to completely break franchise laws. Step 4 will be to buy Carvana to get the used car market and the prep centers and the service centers. And step 5, dealers are out of business.
I'm seeing step 1. I don't know if that's the progression, but I still believe the manufacturers want to sell direct. It hasn't worked.
Of course.
It'll never work, but it still affects us in the dealer world. I'm not a dealer. I'm a vendor. I'm a vendor, and I service dealers. I sell books. Buy it. I sell books. I train. I do things we do. My living is made from the dealer world, and I am an advocate of dealers. This is not good for dealers in the long run. If it progresses. April, jump in here a second.
No, I agree with you. If it progresses, but that's the point. I don't see it progressing. And
okay, you are Pollyanna.
If it does progress, let me just say, here's the reality of it. I always have this thing, I call it a teeter on decision making, right? So if it's low down here and it's not affecting my majority of my business today, but in fact maybe helping it in some ways, then I'm all in. I'm greedy. I'm all about doing what I need to do to make the most deals, to sell the most vehicles, to do everything we can do, right? At the end of the day, if it starts to gain steam and we start to see that minority start to become majority, well, then we've got to start having a different conversation. We got to start talking about how we're either going to pivot or fight or do what we need to do. But as we sit here today in step 1, I genuinely see it as a positive thing. I really genuinely see it as something where, we're not even getting into the data aspect, right? How much data does Amazon already have? So now we're talking about saving money in SEM. We're talking about saving money in our third parties, because we don't need 19 third parties if I can have the one mammer jammer, right? That's a technical term. Write that one down, mammer jammer. If I can have the biggest and greatest one, and I can cut my SEM budget down because I now have the ability with Amazon's data, which let's face it, if Amazon can figure out how to get me toilet paper within 2 hours of running out, they know a lot about every individual. Now we're going to give them the shopping habits of our customer, first party shopping habits, by letting them go on their platform and seeing what they looked at, what they're doing. That just makes all of our advertising a much better ROI. So I do generally today see it as all positive check mark, positive check mark, positive check mark. Now it starts to teeter the other direction. We're having a whole nother conversation. It's not that I don't see the yellow light, but when I see a yellow light, yes, most of the time I'm the person who just hits the gas and runs through it. I'm not stopping and worrying about it right now.
And I agree. And I'm the type of person who tries to figure out a way around it. So if you can figure out a way to beat the system within the system, then you're going to grow and you're going to be bigger. I'm glad, I'm looking at the comments, I'm glad Anderson just said that, because hearing you talk earlier, Max, it would sound like that this was the first time this has been desired or tried. It is absolutely not. Manufacturers have wanted this and tried this for decades, and it hasn't happened. The franchise laws are way too solid, way too polished for that to happen. And even when it tries, and somebody brought up Carvana, I mean, is there a bigger poster boy for how this would fail than Carvana? I mean, seriously.
Listen, I don't like Carvana as much as you do, but I'm also a realist, and if you think that Carvana is going away, again, they sold 81,000 cars in the third quarter of this year when people had choices to go to a car dealership. They still bought online. Their market cap is still greater than AutoNation's, and it's up there with Lithia.
Their market
Come on,
cap,
guys, you cannot deny this reality. People want to buy online, and Amazon is different because everybody has an Amazon account. And yes, I agree with you. Car dealers tried to go direct, but they did it half-ass. Nobody put two and two together and say, hey, why don't we go this way through Amazon? And we're not going to go direct today, and we're going to, put dealers to sleep, right? And they will think, like two of you, that this is not a big deal, and when they're completely asleep, we're going to pull the rug from under them. And that's it. Have a nice day. Nice knowing you with your franchise laws.
And then you're back in the shape that Tesla, look at the chart of Tesla orders and back orders. If you've looked at it, it's gone around a number of times, but their orders have fallen off a cliff, which is hence why they cut their pricing, $15,000 or something. And everybody that owned a Tesla before that day automatically has $20,000 negative equity. But besides that, the manufacturer, I still don't believe, as much as I know you said, I know what Farley said, and I know what, but the flip side of the manufacturer having dealers is what Tesla is going to run into by having inventory that they don't know what to do with. The manufacturer has a guaranteed buyer for every single vehicle they produce. And they can't look past that fact that it's not a good thing, no matter how good they think it is, it's not a good thing for the manufacturer either to say they want to go direct to consumer, because when they go direct to consumer and the consumer's not clicking and they're producing vehicles, then what do? Now, instead of the dealer having floor plan and the dealer buying every vehicle they produce, they have them sitting. Now you have a bigger problem. You have a much bigger problem than they think they have. So
I think Amazon will solve that problem. The clicks,
buying all their cars?
The clicks will tell the manufacturer which cars to produce and which models and trim levels consumers stay away from.
That's a fact.
But the lead time it's not a TV. Again, it's not a TV. The lead time on a car isn't, well, let's look at clicks and we can have one there in a week. I mean, that's not how it works. So it's, again, a far different model than just some other thing with Amazon.
But guys, think of it as evolution, right? They're going to start small with 18 dealers, then they're going to expand it. As they expand, Amazon gets more and more data, more and more clicks that will be analyzed by either people or artificial intelligence, and this data will be fed back to the manufacturer, and they will say, make this many Sonatas and make this many Elantras, right? It's not rocket science in 2023.
Yeah, except for that it is, because they plan out so far in advance on exactly what they're going to build and how many they're going to build. Like how do you run we've seen this train wreck already with the order, build to order, right? Train wreck. So
build to order, how'd that work out?
So now we're going to say we're going to do 100% build to order as a manufacturer, and they're suddenly now going to figure that out when they've been trying to figure that out forever. They've been trying to balance.
I'm not saying build to order. I'm saying that this data will be very useful for the manufacturers to figure out the quantities of what.
Now, Brett Sutherland on the sidebar just said COVID conditioned people to be okay with waiting for a car to arrive. I
don't think so.
With that. I don't think so,
because we watch people buy cars that would never ever buy.
Not today. Not on that.
Nope.
Well, listen, I think, but guys, I don't think Brett is wrong, because I think it depends. Will a Porsche customer wait? Of course they will.
Okay.
Again, we're talking about the
scarcity
customer right now.
You want to see
scarcity creates demand. Okay.
See the percentage of orders that were taken over COVID with deposits that have been refunded in the last 6 months or a year. It's higher than, if I had to go back in and look, it's 90% plus.
Built to order, the manufacturers can't service built to order. Ford Motor Company, I know dealers that had Broncos on order for a year, and the dealer across the street got one identically equipped as part of their normal allocation.
Mm-hmm.
They're more screwed up than a pile of coat hangers. Excuse me.
But that's where what Max and Bill are saying here is that there is a commonality between the two. But let's take, it's not all negative. Some of this is positive. If we can get to a point where the manufacturer is only selling the dealership what customers actually are buying in my area and want to buy, and they figure that aspect out, well, that's kind of a win for all of us, right? Because now we don't have to have quite as large of rebates to move vehicles. We don't have to have quite as high a floor plan cost because vehicles are sitting on the lot for a really long time. So I think using that data there's some advantages that come with utilizing that data. But again, customers are going to want to be able to show up to the lot today and pick that car up once they've decided. Once a consumer crosses the line of I've decided to make this purchase, they want it now. They don't want to wait. And if they have to wait, then they start second guessing their purchase decision and look at alternatives, whether it be color, model, trim, it doesn't matter. We all start to go to alternatives the second we can't get what we want.
Listen, all I was trying to say is that you will not see purple PT Cruisers with wood panels, right? If Amazon,
but that's a good thing.
Right. If
Wait
Amazon
a minute.
the data,
Purple PT Cruisers. Oh, what are you going to do with your special finance customers?
Wow.
They don't need to be purple. You understand, Jim? They don't need to be purple.
Okay, I understand. Oh, Bill, jump in there. I see you.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that that somebody touched on EVs. I'm going to get my 2-minute EV soapbox in here right now. The orders are not just dropping on them; they're dropping off a cliff. But you see a lot of people commenting that the reason EVs aren't selling is because somehow the dealer's training is not there, and these people are.
They're saying it's affordability. That was the survey that came out today.
Training ridiculous. People just aren't they're seeing real.
They don't want that.
No, they're seeing real world aspects of that. 88% of the people who own EV, to April's point earlier, she was making, have a nice vehicle in their driveway. That's the only reason they feel comfortable with owning an EV. They're not sole EV owners. Hence why Tesla did a good job on purchasing those online, because they weren't trade-in customers. They weren't customers who needed a difficult process to go through. It was customers who could afford it, who had the cash or their own financing available, no trade-in, no hoops to jump through. They just could click buy and do it. And
Bill, I live in the guarded, gated country club community, and about 1 out of 3 cars in my community is a Tesla. But there's always 2 or 3 or 4 cars. Some of these people got 4-car garages in my neighborhood. I mean, they've got plenty of regular gasoline-powered automobiles. So it's not a matter that Tesla's their sole family provider.
Yeah, and the other point I was going to make is, if you think that things were changing, everybody said, oh, the manufacturer's making more money with the limited inventory, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is, we're going to order. Again, back to the ordering thing, we're just going to order car. Come on, just look at the last 6 months. I mean, it's all about market share. It's all about producing as many vehicles as you can, getting them to the dealers as fast as you can, and the dealers putting out so that GM can be number 1 in trucks, or that Ford can outpace GM in a small SUV market, or whatever manufacturer you're talking about. But you can throw all that, again, rainbows and unicorns out the window, that this was somehow a learning lesson over the last 2 years, and people have changed their way of buying, or COVID changed this, or that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, COVID changed nothing about the manufacturing process. They changed nothing about the way dealers are going to sell vehicles, and they changed nothing about the amount of inventory or stock that dealers are going to carry. It just didn't. It didn't translate over into what many people thought it was going to continue on. That did not happen. quickly, by the way, not even taking years and years and years, really quick.
Yep. As soon as demand dropped a sliver below the supply, right? As soon as it dropped a sliver, which is what we all predicted. We all said, look, as soon as supply drops below demand, demand drops below supply, we are all back to the same old, and it's not us. It's not the dealer saying, hey, we don't want to evolve, or it's not even the OEMs who want to do
We're
what they
talking about manufacturer overreach. Last week, the state of Illinois slapped Ford. They backslapped them, but Farley was tap dancing on a griddle. So, I'm telling you right now, the Ford program was declared illegal in the state. They separated the dealers that were EV certified and not, paid $1 million and couldn't, it got down to where only 1 out of 3 dealers had signed up for the program, or something like that. And what it turned out to be was those dealers were not going to be able to repair EVs. How would you like to buy an EV and your selling dealer or a competing dealer couldn't repair it, even though they had certified technicians on staff? So,
but you're proving our point, Jim, on why this is never going to hit the finish line, because there are laws, and pretty strong laws, protecting dealers against overreach. Okay, overreach is always going to happen. Customers try to get away with stuff. Dealers try to get away with stuff. OEMs are just humans too, trying to get away with stuff. But
General Motors is
of protection.
General Motors is trying to moonwalk the hell right out of EVs. I'm telling you right now, they're going hybrid's the answer. I mean, we started out with Amazon, but now we got on EVs. Thanks, Bill. But anyway,
they go hand in hand, because I think there's a lot of proof of why we don't need to necessarily be scared of an Amazon and what's happening here. But
I'm not scared of Amazon. I'm scared of the manufacturers.
And I'm not after this EV debacle. So they kind of go hand in hand.
I don't have a problem with Amazon. And I think that Hyundai has traditionally been one of the most dealer-friendly franchises. If I get to interview Jose Munoz, I will be definitely respectful. But the thing about it is I don't trust the manufacturers. Stellantis, you can't trust Stellantis about that far. I mean, Stellantis in Europe is already trying to go to the agency model, and they're trying to bring it ashore here. Come on, the agency model is the dream of every manufacturer. To have one-car showrooms, warehouses with cars, their own repair facilities. Manufacturers envision it doesn't work. We know it's going to crash. Is that going to crash, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
Is that going to crash, Max?
I don't know, guys. I don't share your optimism, because all I want to say is that Jose Munoz is super smart. He didn't go bombastic like, Ford and GM with direct to consumer. He found a really nice avenue through Amazon.
And this program has been in effect since 2018, by the way. It wasn't.
Yeah, but you could only look. You could only look. You couldn't buy.
Yes, they expanded the program.
Right.
They did.
So he's really smart about doing that. And if we're being really honest, right, and we look at car sales pre-pandemic, right, where statistically a car dealership was losing, I would say, $200 per new car sale, right, if you look at the NADA data. And every car dealership needed to rely on F&I and parts and service to really save the day. Right. So again, if you just look into the future, not into 2050, I think we're within 2 years, right? And by 2025, there'll be Amazon branded F&I products, and that profit center is going to leave the dealership, and then you will have
That's
to.
That's the only profit center dealers have left, that was service and finance.
And dealers suck at service and parts. Hence, you have Valvolines, Jiffy Lubes, Firestones, right? So this will be like the house of cards is going to fall if Amazon grabs onto F&I products, because F&I products are not part of the franchise laws. A dealer is free to sell any F&I products. They don't have to sell, OEM branded stuff. So if they don't have to sell
So
OEM
Amazon will have their own branded F&I products.
That's
Okay.
it.
I just don't agree. I don't agree with that for two reasons. One, how long has Amazon been? Have you ever taken a look at what Amazon actually sells that they actually make? Very few. It's very, very few items on their website. You can look them up. Their names I hadn't even heard of before. I had to actually search through to see if I had ever bought a truly Amazon product, which is an Amazon made product. You probably haven't. If you look at their top 20 sellers on Amazon, they're all through somebody else. They're not products that they made, they named. They're or TCL or their other Samsung. They're other product makes that they just are a throughput to the consumer. So if they could have done it in small products, or if they thought it was profitable in doing it in small products, I don't think they would have. I mean,
so they are just a mass product broker.
Yes. In the end, it's too expensive when their model works. And this is what I say about people who try to get into other businesses that they don't know, and they fail normally when they get into a business they're not experienced in, or they're not in, because like their model works. Their model of the throughput works. So why try to reinvent the wheel? They're not going to try to have their own products and it costs more. It's more expensive than if they just list somebody else's on there. So I don't think they're going to get into it, or even want to get into the whole back end of everything that's going on, because they're not in that game.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this broadcast on social media, which is the only place it shows, if you're watching on social media, share this broadcast. Right now, hit the click on the share button. Share this broadcast, whether you're watching a replay or you're watching the original broadcast, which is Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching the original broadcast or a replay, click the share button. Let's spread this message around. We're getting down to the last couple, 3 minutes. I'm not going to turn it over to Max. He'd take 5. But anyway, April, what do you want to wrap this thing up with? Amazon.
This is going to be
good thing or bad thing. Good thing or bad thing.
Good thing, and it's going to go slow. This is going to be a super, super slow process. It's beta for the whole first year, small amount of dealers. I think they'll find out in the beta that this is what their thought is today, and what it morphs into are going to be two different things. But for dealers, I think it is primarily positive if you take the advice of things that Bill and I are both saying as far as how to use it to the dealership's advantage. All good.
Okay. 2 minutes. Bill Hall. Good thing, bad thing.
Good thing. I think it's a really good thing for Hyundai to be the first one on it for Hyundai dealers, because the name
Munoz is brilliant.
You can't look at anything without hearing Amazon and Hyundai. So now people are correlating Amazon and Hyundai. So it's a really good thing for Hyundai to be the first one out there and have their name out there. I think it's a good thing if you don't like all these little ancillary platforms that are either trying to start up or that have started up that are raising prices. I think it weeds out a lot of those. And in the end, I think it's just another platform.
Bill, are we saying goodbye to AutoTrader and Cars.com? And
maybe not those two, but the rest possibly, and possibly those in the long term. But I think
so. But that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't like those people. Okay. Okay. Wrapping up. 1 minute, Max. Good thing, bad thing.
Listen, it's a phenomenal thing for Hyundai. It's a terrible thing for car dealers. You guys are drinking Kool-Aid, and I'm telling you, F&I brand, Amazon F&I branded products or Amazon Hyundai branded products will be the nail in the dealer's coffin.
Okay, so you're saying April's naive.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were. Okay, okay. As we wrap
Purpose.
up the last
Right.
as we wrap up the last minute of the show, this has been. I'm gonna get that off the screen. Hang on a second. There we go. Yeah. Oh, darn. Is that all?
I mean, and Aaron paid his people to say that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay. As we wrap up the last 1 minute of the show, this has been the Ziegler Zone. My good friend April Simmons, Horn Automotive Group, Bill Hall, Southtown Dealerships, Noonan, Georgia, biggest GM dealer in the state, and the curmudgeon Max Zanan of Max Zanan. And I'm Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. Everybody, let's wave goodbye to everybody.